This show is brought to you by Directory.com, the safest way to hire a contractor. And we're back for one last story today. Clay has details. Go ahead, Clay.
All right. Story number 4. Contractor owes $150,000, but still got away with it. In this story, a family in Massachusetts hires a contractor, but things get out of hand fast. There's fighting over budgets, surprise changes, and a whole lot of arguing that lands everyone in court with a shocking ending. So here we go. May of 2010, the Levitskys. Dimitri, you did a heck of a job finding the most complicated names you could for these stories today. The Levitskys sign a contract with McPherson, who's the contractor. The project included a renovation and an addition for another large dollar amount that was $307,000. A major change order added $62,000 before the work started. So several months later, November 2010, construction begins. The contract calls for completion within 147 days, approximately 5 months, which I'll pause right there. Anybody who's putting that specific of a timeline on a contract with this much stuff involved, I'm like, what are you doing to tie yourself to that kind of timeline? So maybe that's part of the problem here. 2010 to 12, 2 years this goes on. Constant changes and delays. Change orders pile up. Homeowners are trying to add more stuff to the tune of $120,000. There's multiple delays, but the homeowners and contractor argue about who's at fault. So in March of 2012, almost 2 years after the original contract, we reached the breaking point, and the project still isn't done, and the homeowners fired the contractor. So later in 2012, they start arbitration, which was required by their contract. Homeowners claimed that McPherson, quote unquote, strung them along, left work incomplete to force extra payments, and lied about needing more money to finish the job. Mr. Levitsky testifies that McPherson, the contractor, admitted to using unfinished work like bathroom tiles as his carrot to get more money. Like he was holding back on doing stuff to try to get paid. When fired, McPherson allegedly delivered the missing tiles hours later, contradicting his earlier claims. The Levitskys also claimed that McPherson demanded $48,000 in advance payments, promising repayment, but 2 of his repayment checks bounced. Oh, such a roofer. Contractor side, McPherson blamed the delays on slow bank payments and permit delays, and said the Levitskys kept adding extra work. He argued that all advances were used on the project and that he never got the last payment from the bank that would have allowed him to repay the couple. Outcome: the arbitrator rules in favor of the Levitskys, the homeowners, finding breach of contract, unpaid advances, and attorney fees and interest. In total, McPherson owed them almost $150,000. And crucially, the arbitrator did not find any evidence of fraud. So McPherson had to file for bankruptcy. You know, Dimitri mentioned earlier, like a $450,000 amount can take out a contractor. In this case, it was over 300,000. And man, there's some of these contractors out there that are operating on thin lines. You know, so he filed bankruptcy. He offered to pay 6.75% of the debt over 5 years. The homeowners fought back, asking the court to make him pay the full debt, and they renewed their claims of fraud, fiduciary defalcation, embezzlement, all these weird lawyer words, willful and malicious injury. The bankruptcy judge ruled against the Levitskys on all those claims. So he, again, upon further kind of investigation, the court found no fraud, no convincing evidence of fraud, false pretenses, or intent to deceive. The delays and incomplete work were attributed to payment issues and the scope changes, all those change orders, and mutual miscommunications, people not getting on the same page, not necessarily fraud, like nothing was intentionally done here by either side. No fiduciary breach or embezzlement. So the $43,000 in advances that were not held in trust, they were ruled to be short-term loans that were used on the project, and no willful or malicious injury. The incomplete work, the bounce checks, the court ruled that those were not intentional acts by the contractor to try to harm Levitsky. You know, the contractor just got in a bad spot there. Most of the contractor's $150,000 debt got erased. So he only ended up having to pay $10,000 to them under his bankruptcy plan, and the rest got wiped out as long as he completed the bankruptcy plan. That's a long, winding story, and I know we said it was a shocking result. Like, he was ruled to owe all of this money, but through the mechanism of bankruptcy, which a lot of people are familiar with, he was able to avoid having to satisfy those debts.
Crazy story. Riley, you are fourth generation. How many times your dad, you, or your grandfather have been sued over those years? They said if you're not successful, if you're not getting sued, you're not successful. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, yeah, quite a bit. And we've quite a bit of funny stories with different lawsuits that we've gone through, including ones where my grandfather paid over $30,000 in attorney's fees to win $4,000. So there's definitely lessons about getting involved with attorneys there. But man, in this case, there's a lot of different interesting things that happen. One of them is, first of all, the timeline, setting that short timeline on that case,
And then a couple
and
years
then
later,
couple years later, I mean, that's like, whew, how do you radically miss time? How long it's going to take on that project? I understand there's different change orders and stuff, but that's pretty insane how long that project is taking. But also, like in construction, there's going to be things that go wrong. There's going to be things that increase the time, and so there's a little bit of that expectation there. Um, as far as the outcome of this, and then the contractor ending up filing bankruptcy, a lot of contractors are running on fumes when it comes to their finances, and so something small as far as one job going south can literally take them out. And so, man, there's as a contractor, you have to be really careful with taking on big projects like this, making sure it runs very smoothly, because taking your eye off of it for a second can create a huge issue for you.
um, what do you think, Clay, about the outcome? Why arbitrator ruled in favor of the Levitskis here? Because it's weird. Like they filed bankruptcy, the bankruptcy judge rules against the Levitsky, but arbitrator rules, in favor of Levitsky. Like there is a little bit conflict in the system there because I feel like in this country you have such a strong bankruptcy law, like everybody can fail, and contractor was protected here, so he did owe $150,000, and the homeowner technically won, but he still walked away and write it off. And I have this term that I use often is contractor file fake bankruptcies, where a contractor is not bankrupt. He could easily get out of the hole. Like even in this case, 100. Like I mean, I don't know what he would do a year in business, but if you're doing 2-3 million a year and you have 150 $200,000 in debt, in 1-2 years you can wipe it off. You can negotiate with a supplier, you can negotiate with the banks, right? So I call it fake bankruptcy. You file bankruptcy because you can, not because you can't figure out it, because it's easy. I'll close this LLC, I'll start a new one, and a lot of contractors are doing here. Clay, what do you think?
Well, almost all of these retail agreements or contracts have that arbitration provision in them now to try to avoid lawsuits and winding up in civil court. It's like, hey, we're going to force you to try to negotiate with us through arbitration. My experience working with arbitrators is some are certainly better than others, but it's a relatively fair process. The purpose is to like get to the right result, right? So I think sometimes people who are signing a contract see, oh, we're not going to be able to sue you if you mess this up. We have to go to arbitration. But those arbitrators are pretty neutral. They really are. So I actually think that's a pretty good mechanism, and I think that's like a reasonable way to try to resolve things. Now, the whole bankruptcy issue where you can be found through arbitration to be liable for all of this money, and then that you can get out of it through bankruptcy. I agree with you, Dimitri. Bankruptcy courts have been taken advantage of by people that don't want to do the work of trying to pay off debts. Now we also there's another side to that coin. Like bankruptcy exists because some people get into such bad financial need, and there's accountability in the bankruptcy process. Like debts do get satisfied. People do have to pay it off and work it off over time. So there's two sides to it, man. But this feels like a particularly pretty bad result in that legitimately it seems like the contractor did owe this money for stuff that was incomplete or not properly, just not done by the contract. And then he's able to avoid having to pay it through bankruptcy. That doesn't feel like a great result. So I don't love the way that one turned out. I'd probably have to read more books to like figure out how to fix bankruptcy law. I doubt we'll figure that one out on today's call. But in general, bad result in a flawed system is how I would characterize it.
Absolutely. My biggest takeaway from this story is the completion in 147 days. And here's, as a contractor, what I want to say about this contractor and give advice to all my contractors out there. When you sign that agreement and there's any days, I mean, go above and beyond to deliver on time. Not only is going to bring you more business, people love and appreciate. Time is the biggest asset we have right now. It's the biggest. People appreciate fast contractor. You know, we're in the roofing space mostly. You know, when you come and do the roof in a day, people are impressed. But the same goes with any project, kitchen remodel. You know, it becomes so good at what you do. If you promise something in 5 months, I mean, there's a fire on your head. Like, you can't relax. You can't sleep at night until you get it done. I mean, I would understand if you contracted for 5 months and it got you 6 or 7, but not 2 years, not 3 years. I've done jobs where I estimated them 3 days and it took me 5. But I would not go to another project. I would not drag it. I would push everything else. I would work Saturday and Sunday to get it done. So you're on fire when you sign those agreements. Homeowners also make your contractors accountable. And those 5 months did not sneak up on them. Like, you know, every month, every 2 months, you come and you check and you talk about completion days. Don't let it catch you by surprise. That's all we have for you this week. I'll tune in next Saturday with more stories. Thank you so much for being loyal to the show and listening to us. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment below what you think about today's stories, and I'll see you next Saturday.